All right, so our brisket here has been resting on the bench for nearly an hour now, so it's still very hot, so be careful. Use those cotton gloves to save yourself. Pick it up. Now, it will be pretty loose. You'll feel it, you know. So I'll get it out of here, and I'll turn it over just to make this easier to take this paper off. Now, you can see that everything's coming off there. So what I'll do, I'll put it back in there so I can get the brisket out and show you what we're looking at. Yeah. So that's our finished brisket. And like, once again, there's plenty of juices coming out of this that we can keep. To help with that. So I'll turn it back over the right way so I know what I'm looking at. So we've got that big end here, that's the point, that's the flat. Now when you're cutting a brisket, it's important now to cut it properly because you can make a big difference if you cut it wrong. So the flat is a muscle that runs from left to right. So you need to cut that perpendicular. So you don't want to cut this way because then you're cutting with the grain and it won't work. So you always got to cut against the grain. So what I'll do now, I'll cut it in the middle and we'll pull it apart and have a look and see what it's like. Now you see, look at that. You know, there's plenty of fat there. It's nice and juicy. You've got a little bit of a smoke ring. Now the other thing with the smoke ring, guys, you can see I've got parts of it there. It's not the be all and end all of barbecue. A great smoke ring doesn't make great barbecue. Great barbecue doesn't always have a great smoke ring. It's purely visual. Yeah, it looks great. But at the end of the day, if I get a blind taste test, you'd never tell me if it did have it or didn't. So, all right, so let's slice a bit up. So when you're cutting brisket, as I said, cut the same way. You want to cut a slice around as thick as a pencil. So about 6 mils, half a centimeter roughly, and cut across here. So get yourself a nice big knife and sharp and it'll just fall off. Everyone will tell you, the hang test is where it works for a brisket. Does it hang over your finger? Put it over your finger. I think that's gonna pass. So a good brisket should hang like that. If you've cut it too thick, it'll stay thick. The other way to test is hold it with your finger up high and put a little bit of pressure and does it fall apart? And a little bit more than I'd hope. But yeah, look at that. Yeah, so slice it down, go all the way. Now only slice as much as you need because brisket will dry out sitting on the bench here. So if you've got 5 people in your household at the moment, you can't have anyone over because we're in lockdown. Don't slice the whole brisket up in one go because by the time you come back for seconds, it's gonna dry out. So cut as much as you need. But if you've got everyone now, we're past this stage, done, we'll do that. So slice it out all the way down to the end. Now I'll put a few pieces here. Back to this other side. Now this is the point, so I'll move this over. Now you can keep cutting this the same way. I tend to do that a lot. Well, I just keep cutting. But what you can do after you cut to about here, you can spin it around and cut opposite because the point muscle runs opposite to the flat. So once you get up here, it's mainly flat and mainly point, you can cut on the side. But you know, don't make it too difficult. Just keep cutting this. I'll cut a few more pieces here. You know, so it just looks amazing. Smells amazing. I wish you guys could smell it here with me. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead now, cut up a bit more of this brisket. We'll go back inside. We'll set up with the coleslaw, potato salad, the pork. We'll sit down and have a meal. All right, so we've just got the burn ends to go now. So they've come off with the brisket. They've been resting. Let's unwrap them. So what you can do with these can be your pitmaster treat. Don't have to share them with everybody else. So it comes off like that. Now when you touch it, it's soft. Now cut these into little bite-sized cubes. So cut down the middle. And it's gonna fall apart there. It's hard to cut. And then little bite sizes. Now there's a couple of ways you can do it. I'd like to eat them sometimes as is. That's it. You look at that, it's just fat. It's like a marshmallow. It's so hard to describe unless you've eaten them, but it's just perfect. The other way is get a little tray, add some barbecue sauce, one of your favorites, that's fine. Mix up a little, chuck it back on the smoker for about 25 minutes, half an hour, let that sauce glaze up. That's really common. A lot of people love doing that. I'm not much of a sauce person. I prefer to eat them as is. So like this, straight in, and that's it. This is why we do this. This burn ends is better than brisket, trust me. If you can nail this, you can nail anything.